Parliamentary Secretary and the honourable member for Riverina.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I commend the member for Cunningham for her words, or most of her words. And I will point out to the House that I joined with the member for Cunningham when in her capacity as Parliamentary Secretary for Higher Education and Skills on the 21st of September 2012, when she officially opened a $48.6 million hub for research and education in plant and animal sciences, food production and security, animal health and water and environmental sciences, which was opened at Charles Sturt University Wagga Wagga campus. And I know that the former Parliamentary Secretary member for Cunningham knows what an important role this is going to play going forward, and I also acknowledge the role her government played in making sure that that funding was available to CSU Wagga Wagga. As CSU Vice-Chancellor and President Professor Andrew Van said at the time, this impressive building is about providing a space where applied and fundamental researchers can be innovative and ultimately produce science for the benefit of Australia, particularly for our agricultural sector. And you know, Mr Deputy Speaker, how important our agricultural sector is to the nation. Professor Van said its location in regional Australia in the heart of the Murray-Darling Basin will help the scientists engage with rural industries, agencies and students. And I know the member for Cunningham certainly endorsed those remarks of Professor Van and all present on that day. But I would just advise her not to lecture the current government about saying our immigration policies, and certainly alleging that the Howard government laxed rules in immigration policy, because the Howard government had tight immigration rules. That is why we had a good situation with immigration at that point in time, and certainly under the Abbott Truss government we're getting back to where we should be as far as immigration policy settings are concerned. Australia has a proud reputation for quality in international education. It is one of our biggest exports and a driver of many international students to Australia. This is not just in Australia's university sector, although that makes a significant contribution to the number of international students, but also in our schools and our technical colleges, both public and private. In fact, according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, there was a 2009 peak of around 22% of all students undertaking tertiary study coming from overseas. Under the previous government, however, this trend was just as sharply reversed in 2010-11, with a decline in the number of visa applications in order of 5%. In government, Labor limited access to streamlined visa processing to universities only. No other education providers were given the same access to streamlined visa processing, taking away from the students and schools and technical colleges, which also train many students to enter the workforce with a skill set the economy so desperately needs. This is why the Coalition is going about rectifying what, as the Minister for Education said, is a significant impediment to the growth of international education in Australia. In late October last year, the Coalition government announced it would extend the same offer of streamlined visa processing to some 22 degree awarding non-university providers of higher education which present a low immigration risk. This measure is designed to provide equity to schools, technical colleges and other providers of tertiary education to extend Australia's skill set and appeal to overseas students. The Abbott Truss government is focused on rebuilding Australia's reputation as a provider of a competitive and accessible tertiary education to students from overseas. We acknowledge the need to be welcoming of international students, given the contribution they make to Australia's academic research and advancement, as well as the significant social and economic factors as well. This is particularly true of Charles Sturt University in my Riverina electorate, and I must say, Mr Deputy Speaker, in Wagga Wagga, which just recently was awarded the most family-friendly city in Australia. It was named as the country's most family-friendly city, according to a new Suncorp bank that analysed employment levels, schools, volunteer work, health and family income levels. And so to study offshore or onshore at Charles Sturt University is indeed an advantage, and Wagga Wagga was named the top of the family-friendly cities in Australia list, ahead of Canberra, which came in second, Albury-Wodonga third, Toowoomba, then Sydney, Hobart, Ballarat, Bendigo, Melbourne, and 10th was Mackay. So that's a tremendous thing. With around 400 courses on offer from Charles Sturt University and some 38,000 students worldwide, CSU is a highly competitive tertiary institution which is playing its part in the facilitation and training of international students who want to come to Australia to study. CSU is Australia's 5th largest university and boasts a competitive record in terms of job attainment and retention following graduation. And we know that many students who actually study, particularly at regional universities, then take up residence in those regional areas, which are so important. Charles Sturt University also has a proud association with overseas students on its campuses at Wagga Wagga, Bathurst, Albury, Orange, Port Macquarie, as well as Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra and Ontario in Canada. In total, CSU currently has some 5,410 international students, a great record, with 350 of those spread amongst the university's campuses in regional New South Wales. As well as this, many international students access CSU's courses through distance education right across the globe. The university's most popular distance education course is a Masters of Educational Leadership, which draws candidates from every corner of the world to study through CSU. In 2012, the university indicated it had some 113 master's students as part of its distance education program. CSU also has an international campus which is spreading the university's tremendous reputation through other parts of the world, with a campus in Ontario, Canada, around 40 kilometres southwest of Toronto. The Charles Sturt University Bay Learning Centre in Burlington also focuses on Bachelors of Education and the delivery of other teacher education programs. Beginning in August 2005, the CSU Ontario campus has delivered a qualification to more than 1,100 students, and the university has garnered an excellent reputation amongst students, the local district school boards and the Ontario government. The Ontario campus of CSU has also proven to be an important base for the university to build on its distance education program enrolments, particularly in nursing and paramedic training, and we all know how important those two courses are. The Coalition Government's plan to extend the offer of streamlined visa processing arrangements to 22-degree awarding non-university providers of higher education will provide equity to those international students who want to come to Australia and who want to undertake tertiary study outside of university, and that's so important. These changes will make the vocational sector able to attract more and more international students to undertake qualifications in Australia and to contribute to the ongoing growth of this important part of the Australian economy. As the Education Minister said on the 4th of December 2013, this is the first legislative— and he is a good man, and he's sitting right behind me, and he is a good man, and he's making great moves in policy areas so important to Australian education. And he said that he's taking to build new architecture for international education so the industry can grow and achieve its potential. And another good person is my wife Catherine, who only said to me last week that education is so important, Mr Deputy Speaker. As she said, you can lose your job, you can lose your house, you can lose your health, but you can't lose your education. And like most things with my wife says, she was actually right. The bill also amends the Education Services for Overseas Students Act 2000 to clarify refund provisions for overseas students studying in Australia, as well as for students from overseas who intend to study in Australia and are yet to arrive. The system at the moment is a very technical one, and this bill is about providing clarity to international students in Australia. Overseas students make a very important, valuable and ongoing contribution to the Australian education system. The Abbott Truss government acknowledges this, and as such we are seeking to expand upon that integral input overseas students make to the nation and through it to regional Australia, and make it easier for international students to access the Australian education system. And with that, Madam Speaker, I commend the bill to the House.